Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. This is the Tuesday and Thursday EV version. Today we've got a number of headlines. The one that's making news this morning is the stolen Florida Roadster is found, and the story has a new twist. You're going to want to hang around for this one. Tire Tech finally joins the rapid improvements after slumbering for a century.
And 100 bullets cannot stop a Tesla Model 3 performance.
That was amazing.
That is amazing.
And then finally, Tesla charger locations talking to cars. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Good morning and welcome.
Thanks for joining us. So, leading the story here, about a week ago or so, we became aware of a Tesla Roadster that was allegedly stolen. And like with most breaking stories, not all the data and facts are available. So we were advising people, hold your judgment until we find out what's going on here. Mm-hmm. Well, the story goes something like this. A Florida customer had sent his Tesla Roadster to the Fort Lauderdale Service Center almost a year ago for a 3.0 battery upgrade for his dead brick Roadster. And it took quite a while for them to get him into queue and to finally get his car scheduled for that replacement. It was then discovered that the car was no longer at the service center after the upgrade. Initially, it was thought it was before the upgrade, and we were theorizing, saying, how can you steal a brick Roadster? They're hard enough to move, even when you've got it in our shop, let alone trying to steal it and transport it and winch it up on a flatbed. And, and why would you want it? I mean, it's dead, right?
Yeah.
It turns out that this car did have a successful 3.0 transplant, so a new battery was put in. And the owner was out of the country when he was notified that his Roadster was no longer at the service center. This was VIN 541, a Thunder Gray 2010 Roadster. Well, the customer now, and some of the details are beginning to emerge, is now back in the United States. He was on vacation in Europe. Mm-hmm. And It turns out that the car was stolen from the service center, and there's even a video of one guy getting into the car and then driving off. The Roadster was then towed to an impound lot for illegal parking at the request of the Broward County Sheriff's Department. And so anyway, we called the impound lot this morning. We found out that the car was located 1 mile from the Fort Lauderdale Tesla Service Center. So no details have emerged yet. Either he didn't get very far, or he took it on a 230-mile joyride, ran out of juice 1 mile from the service center.
Well, and do you think that the 3.0 batteries, when they're installed in the Roadsters like that, are installed at a full charge, or do you think they're installed at like 15 or 20% charge?
Part of their testing is to bring them up to a full charge, and it could even be a range charge. So there might have been over 300 miles on that Roadster.
Wow.
But yeah, it was found 1 mile from the service center. They told us that at this point, the lot fees and the towing charges had been paid by Tesla, and the car is now on its way back to the Fort Lauderdale Service Center. And if there are any battery issues or they ran it dry, they'll certainly be able to deal with it. The current state of charge, of course, is unknown at this point, and the owner of the car has requested they inspect for any damage and see that the work was completed on the car.
Well, it's obviously got a halfway decent test drive there. Just coincidence, though. Whoever parked it, maybe he double parked or put it in traffic or something like that, because that is coincidence. The Broward County Sheriff's Department didn't know it was stolen.
Yeah. If it was illegally parked, it would have been a parking ticket.
Right.
The fact that they immediately towed it indicates that it was either double parked, like you were saying, or impeding traffic in some way, or clearly the result of a theft.
Yeah, it's something that something as a result of a safety issue is more likely to me what it would be. But just a mile away from the service center, and of course, if I'm the guy that owns the Roadster, I am alternately terrified that where's my car? What'd you do with my car? and just livid with Tesla, hearing about this information doesn't help things.
Sure, sure. But thanks to Tesla, they are taking care of it. They've paid all of the fees. They are coordinating the retrieval of the car, and knowing Tesla, they're going to make this right with the customer in every way possible.
I think so as well. That's kind of what differentiates the best companies from those that are average or below average, is what happens with your customers when something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And the best companies are the ones that really take care of their customers, and when they have a chance to shine, they do so.
Totally. Expect no less from Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
There are, of course, many more details that will become available, and as they do, we will report them. Tomorrow, we'll have our Tesla Roadster podcast, which is specific to Roadsters, and if there's any new information by then, we'll certainly share it with you.
What a story. Can look forward to hearing the developments on this story.
Looks like Instagram is chiming in. MD.Assive1181 says, we are not ready for battery cars. Well, the world is changing.
It is. And whether or not we're ready, it's coming.
Uh-huh. Lightning Rod is giving us a weather report from Thunder Bay. He's saying currently 21C and 36% humidity.
Lightning Rod, here in Arizona, we call that Chamber of Commerce weather.
Yeah.
That's the kind of weather that your Chamber of Commerce likes to advertise to the rest of the world to get the tourists to come. 21C is about 70 degrees.
TikTok, Van Goat Wagon's joining us. He's one of our regulars. He's greeting us. Hello, Gruber team, including our social media team there behind the desks. So let's see what other news items we have here. One of the independent Tesla repair shops owned by Paul Erickson took a drive to the Minneapolis Tesla Service Center, and he posted this on Facebook. He said that they were very gracious. They took him on a tour. They asked him a lot of questions, and the thing that resonates with me regarding Tesla, and I posted this as a response on Facebook. We're used to dealing in the critical power space, and we've been providing independent maintenance there for 4 decades, just like we do with Gruber Motor Company, providing independent service for Tesla or EVs. And what we find is that in the other businesses that we're in, that the OEMs regard competition as adversaries and enemies, which really permeates their culture and extends to even uncooperative part sales function, which is something that they have to provide,
Right.
It's illegal for them to try to squash competition by not making parts available selectively. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have been working, however, alongside Tesla, solving customer problems for years, and it's been a refreshing change, showing us what a far-sighted leading tech company can do once they put aside blinders, egos, and focus on taking care of what really matters, all capital letters now, the customer, regardless from what source, and working together in a spirit of cooperation. So I wasn't surprised that Paul received a warm reception from the Tesla Service Center. However, he did ask some questions about the types of errors that we see in the independent space, the BMS 019 and 18 and 29 errors. And they're not able to comment on that because they're bound by Tesla's confidentiality agreement.
Right.
So, but anyway, thanks, Paul, for sharing that with us. There was a picture. Can we bring that up, guys? That was posted. It's called Used Pack. And it was also posted on this Facebook site. And somebody was asking whether this was a factory pack or if this had been remanufactured. It'll pop up here in a second. The telltale sign for us was, if you notice that caulk oozing out of the seams there, this gets into the category of buyer beware. And we had a situation a year or so ago where a customer bought a Tesla Model S at a Copart auction, and it was sold as a collision damage car. Nothing major, but very minor, actually. So he ended up sending the car to us for the final repair. And we noticed that it looked unusually tall. There was a 6-inch gap between the top of the tire and the wheel well. And usually Tesla Model S's, especially if they have air suspension and they've been sitting a while, are slammed because the air bleeds out of the air shocks.
Right.
This one was sitting just the opposite. It was sitting way too high. We hoped that this was not the case, so we put it up on the lift, suspected that maybe the battery had been emptied because you've got 1,200 pounds there.
Right.
And as it turned out, that's exactly what happened. We used the equivalent of a like an orthoscopic tool, looked inside the battery without pulling it, taking it apart, and we saw empty cavities. And then it got even worse. The tires were shot. The cords were showing. There were bad parts. There were loose bolts. It was clearly something that was remnants of a bunch of repairs, some bad parts thrown into this car, and then sent off to auction. Now, we did a video on this, and if you're interested, it's on our YouTube channel, and it's called something like Buyer Scammed. It was about a year or so ago. And what we did in the video was we proposed that there should be a different type of legislation for auction houses that are selling electric vehicles. With an ICE vehicle, caveat emptor prevails, buyer beware.
Right.
And it's your obligation, even if it's cross-country, to fly out there, inspect the vehicle that you're going to purchase or thinking of purchasing before you buy it. Well, the problem is you can't inspect the inside of a Tesla Model S battery pack. It's 1,200 pounds. They have no facilities to drop it for you. And then to even open it up is an act of Congress. So our proposal was that there should be some different requirements for electric vehicles and some sort of an exit clause for the buyers if they end up with fraud like this. This particular owner, by the way, did investigate it legally.
Mm-hmm.
The initial position from the auction houses is, well, you got to come look at it. It's your responsibility to inspect it. And if you fail to do that, then the onus is on you. Well, as it turns out, that in the legal world, if there's fraud involved, any policies that these auction houses have are basically eradicated. It is the fraud issue that takes precedence.
And that's the only way that you can hope to keep honesty inside of the auctions is to have something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the auction could pass what we call the red face test. You know, somebody brings a car, push, pull, tug, or tow, and the auction. If the auction house says, "Well, is it running?" and the guy says, "Oh yeah, it's absolutely running." With the current law, the auction house has to go and do their own due diligence to say, well, okay, you pushed it in here. Show me that it's running.
Right.
If that law doesn't apply and the auction house's policies take precedence, then the auction guy can just shrug his shoulder. Okay, bring it in.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's up to the people who would be inspecting the car. And all the auction house has to do is make it kind of difficult to have time to inspect the car. You know, inspections are absolutely open every third Wednesday from 2:30 until 2:45.
Right. And, you know, the critical difference here is with an ICE vehicle, you can pop the hood. You can see if there's an engine there. You can see if there's a transmission. You can look underneath, you know. With an electric vehicle, you don't really have that luxury.
Right. Right.
We've got a bunch of comments here.
Yeah. And Richard Flenke on YouTube. Good morning, gentlemen. I love the blue ball Earth space graphics. Maybe we should talk about our background a little bit.
You know, it was a last-minute insertion. We usually have a background image prepared. This is one that we did a few weeks ago, and this was give us a news studio in outer space. And AI obliged, and this is what it came up with.
Love the look of it. Love the background there. Kind of an Earth-like planet in the background. I would not necessarily call it Earth, but it's a very cool look.
Mm-hmm. And then LinkedIn. LinkedIn user says, buy Tesla stock, exclamation, exclamation.
Not financial advice.
Not financial advice, right?
That's right.
A little disclaimer just kind of inserted in there.
Yeah, we're
snuck
not
in there, yeah.
we're not finance experts, that's for sure.
YouTube, Ramon Hurt, ex-Tesla, says Lucid reported their Q3 numbers not looking good for their stock.
I have some information on that, so let's go ahead and run with that for just a minute here. And this is breaking news. Basically, it came out about 30 minutes ago. So we were in studio when this broke. Lucid's deliveries for the third quarter are 1,457 vehicles. Manufactured vehicles, they had manufactured about 1,550 Airs during the third quarter, and they say that there are over 700 additional vehicles in transit to Saudi Arabia for final assembly. That's not going to meet their goal of 10,000 vehicles for the year, or even close. That production or deliveries of 1,450 vehicles is right on par with what they had in the first quarter and in the second quarter. Investors were expecting more because Lucid has not given guidance that says anything other than 10,000 vehicles for 2023.
So there's a big level of disappointment. Hey, social media guys, can you look up Lucid stock real quick and see where we're at? It was hovering around $5.33, I think, per share, $5.33.
504.
504. Okay, so it's going back down. You know, there's in the world of investing or the stock market, there are resistance levels and support levels, and that $5 level is a resistance level. Once it breaks through that, it's going to just fly through that and go even lower. But it's been holding there, even with bad news or sketchy news like this.
Yeah, I've seen it drop below $5 once, and it was intraday. Went down to $4.96, and then it ended up closing the day up around 505 again. So it's testing that resistance level right now. Lucid will report their third quarter results on November 7th.
Okay.
So we also have Richard Flinke on YouTube says, Ramon, not if you bought at $7.
Yeah. Good point.
So yes, and that was a response to Ramon, of course, saying that it was not looking good for Lucid stock. Niels from the Bion Danish Genome Institute has added a comment to us today. First, good morning, Niels, or good afternoon as well. In 2021, 89% of Americans were considering an EV at some point, and this year only 65%. I think the adoption rate will slow, but I hope not.
Yeah, we hope not as well. YouTube, Jeffrey Mohan says, glad to finally be able to catch you guys live. Really enjoy the podcast. 2014 Model S 85 owner in the high desert of California. Thanks for joining us, Jeffrey.
Thank you very much, and thank you for telling us where you're coming in from. We encourage that for all of our new people coming in.
So one of the items here that I have for you is one of our viewers actually had an opportunity to talk to one of our customers from over a year ago. In fact, it was December of 2021. That's almost 2 years ago, kind of think of it.
Yeah, almost 2 years ago.
And we did a battery repair. Long story short, a customer bought this Model S with a bad battery. That's the solution's $22,000. He says, man, the car's worth $30,000. It turns out that he ended up being able to buy this car for $10,000. And we did a video on this. How can you get a Tesla Model S for $10,000? Well, if it's got a bad battery, that's likely or possible. So first thing he did was he shipped it to us. We repaired it. And the good news is that over 2 years later now, the car's running just fine. There was a lot of conjecture and, some darts thrown that these types of repairs are short-term and they're temporary and, these you can't just simply snip a cell, the normal rhetoric that we hear. And we keep pointing out, guys, we've been doing this since 2013. This is not magic. This is a mainstay in our company. It's core business. We do about 2 roadsters per week where we fix either resistive cells or we isolate a bad cell and, get the car running again. So it's not a surprise to us that this car is still running, but there's some confirmation. And thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, glad to see it. And you're exactly right, Pete. While this might be a novel thing for the Model S, it's definitely not novel because we've been doing this on Roadsters for ages. And we have, 20, like you say, 2016, 2017 repairs that are still going strong on these Roadster packs.
Yeah. The simple formula here is out of a Tesla Model S 85 kW pack, you've got 7,104 cells. It only takes one of those to go rogue to kill the car.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by going rogue is it will go resistive. It will start to fail. And then it starts to bring down a brick. A brick is a collection of parallel connected cells. As it does that, the battery safety management system in the car says, we can't charge at the normal levels anymore. Something's wrong with one of these bricks. And if we overcharge, we're going to have a thermal event. So we're going to start to peel back the amount that you can charge, which is usually translated into a reduction in range. So you're not getting 230 miles range anymore. So the fix is identifying that one resistive cell and snipping it out of circuit. And the car never realizes that 1 out of over 7,000 cells went MIA. So that's the fundamental principle that we use when we repair these.
Yeah, absolutely.
YouTube, Highlander says, hi, gang. Couldn't go volunteer. Where? I wanted to, but nasty flu bug going around in Metro Toledo. Okay. Well, we hope you feel better, Highlander. You've always been a mainstay of our show here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you back commenting for us, too. On TikTok, Van Goatwagon says, has anyone seen the Whistling Diesel YouTube video of what he did to his Tesla?
I have not.
And I actually have to admit, I don't think I have in this case. I'm looking up some photos for Whistling Diesel, and I had seen, one set of images from somebody who wanted to put a generator in the back of his Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
And so he took the rear window out and built that whole area back up.
I've got a Pete Reacts for that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do. I don't want to spoil it too much. It's really good.
Cass, do you have a Pete Reacts for what they did with the Model 3? Whistling Diesel?
I don't think I do yet.
Okay.
But
well,
I can pull it.
Okay, Pete, you're going to love this. You're either going to love or hate this one. And either case, you're going to think this gentleman is absolutely out of his mind. And, if that's your assertion, then you're right.
I have learned, too, with our social media team, which is highly creative, to put things like love and hate aside and just let it be, because I don't understand it most of the time. But if our audience appreciates it and it gets views and it gets subscribers, I stand aside. So, yeah.
Yeah, so let's see what it is.
By the way, if you guys can throw up a picture, and we missed this during the Tesla Roadster, the stolen Tesla Roadster. It's called Stolen Roadster is the image. This morning, after talking to the, and this gets us back, by the way, for those of you that just came in, there was a Roadster that was stolen in Florida. It was stolen at a Tesla service center. It was taken for a joyride, apparently, and it's currently being retrieved, so it's been found. But what I failed to do was show you how close to the service center this car was found.
Oh, yes.
The little red dot there is the Tesla Fort Lauderdale Service Center. Oakland Park is where the car was discovered as being illegally parked to the point where the Broward County Sheriff's Department actually sent out a tow truck and impounded the car. It wasn't just a parking ticket.
Man, that is so close, because it looks like you've got that map zoomed way in as well.
Yep.
Usually the grids are about a mile or so on the street grids, at least here in Arizona and Phoenix. That's the case. And if that were the case there, Oakland Park is, I don't know, maybe a mile or two from the Tesla Service Center.
Yeah, they said it was a mile from. Foster Henderson is joining us. Welcome, Foster. He is a Roadster owner from the D.C. metro area. He says, so with the $40,000 battery replacement, you and I can agree to disagree. And what we're talking about here is October 2nd, Tesla announced informally that they were raising the price of a Tesla Roadster replacement battery from $29,000 plus tax to $40,000, and we're still not sure yet whether $40,000 is with tax. Well, it can't be because it varies so much.
Right.
It's probably $40,000 plus tax. And my comment to the Facebook crowd that was beginning to get into an uproar about this is, guys, we've been looking at this $29,000 Tesla Roadster battery replacement cost for years because we would love to build them as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the aftermarket space. We are in the Roadster space. We regularly make Roadster parts, but we can't. The spreadsheets consistently tell us, you guys aren't going to be able to do this. They're selling them under cost. It's not feasible. So now that they've raised it to 40,000, we think they've brought it more in line with a break even, which was the original commitment from Elon in 2016 when he said, we're going to give you guys a replacement battery pack. They're handmade, and we're going to sell them to you at cost. Well, that was, 10 years ago. And at this point, costs have gone up.
Right.
They're using Silicon Valley labor. They're connecting not just 6,831 connections on one side, but times two because they have to do both sides with an ultrasonic welder by hand every single connection. Using Silicon Valley labor again. So what he's suggesting is next time that we talk to Tesla, ask about the new Roadster 2, please, unless you know something. We don't. Tesla is keeping information about the next generation Roadster very secretive and very confidential. And even the people that we talk to at Tesla don't get a full story.
Yeah, it's we will definitely continue to see what we can find on that Roadster 2. Pete, I happen to agree with you as opposed to Foster in this case. And yeah, we can just agree to disagree. I like Foster Henderson. He's a good guy.
Yeah. We'd love to continue with a $30,000 battery pack, but those of you that were lucky enough to get it at that price, count your blessings, because I think that price has been adjusted more in line to cover some of their costs.
Yeah. Hugo on TikTok is joining us this morning. It says, from a viewer that has been there since your first live on YouTube, has GMC found an automation or an automated way to find an MIA cell? How long does it currently take to find one?
We don't need automation because we don't check all 7,000 cells. The software that we have pinpoints it to a group of cells in a brick. And a brick is usually in a Tesla Roadster 69 cells. From there is where the skill is involved in isolating that one resistive cell.
Right.
The problem that you have is when you connect batteries in series, it's easy to find a bad battery because you just simply take a voltage reading. The one that's low is going to be your bad cell.
Right.
When you connect them in parallel, they all look the same because plus is connected to plus, minus is to minus. So every cell is going to read 4 volts or whatever it's supposed to be. So finding that one resistive cell is a challenge, which actually we perfected over 2 years ago now, and have gotten very good at.
Well, and it would be, that's a process that would be really difficult to automate because first, the typical time required to check all 69 cells, that's just a really small piece of the overall battery repair.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't take that long. It's a fairly small percentage of the overall time needed. So you're not going to gain a lot from automation. And secondly, even if we did have automation, even if you did have the ability to do something automatically, it might take as long to set up your automated process as it does to simply do the work.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is there is a solution, but it's cost prohibitive. If you put monitoring on all 6,831 cells, the software would immediately recognize which cell has gone rogue.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And then it could disable it, take it out of circuit, basically. But because what they have in the Tesla Roadster is what are called battery management boards, and they sense 9 bricks in every sheet. And there are 621 cells in a sheet, so they're doing groups of cells. But to actually monitor every single cell to the cell level would be a massive amount of wiring. It would be a massive amount of circuit boards, and it's just not cost effective.
Yeah, you know what kind of reminds me in the power services space, our guys build battery modules. They'll take 8 12-volt 7-amp-hour batteries, hook them together. In this case, they're hooking them in series because they need to have 96 volts come out of the pack. And they'll sometimes there'll be a wire that gets loose because we're reusing the wires, we're refurbishing the packs, we're putting new batteries in. And there is a certain failure rate that we have. Back 10 years, right at 10 years ago, that we changed our process for a short while where we said, oh, we can't have these failures, so we're going to spend $10 a pack to put new wires in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the failure rate was less than 1%. And so we increased our costs by 10% in order to reduce our failure rate by 1. It was cost prohibitive. And then when new management came in, took a look at the process and said, wait a minute, time out, guys. Why are we spending $100 to fix a $10 problem?
Yeah, and we catch the errors during QC and during burn-in.
Yes.
So it gets resolved. It's not like these go back out in the field and then later on fail on a customer.
Exactly. And so we changed the way that the process went, added another QC step that would particularly test for that loose wire, and now the problem is solved and we don't have the failures. This would be the same type of thing.
Now, actually, Nils has an interesting idea here. He's saying, what if the auction house had a handheld X-ray device that buyers could use? That would, yeah,
That would be interesting.
If it can look through aluminum and identify cells. You know, probably the least expensive and most elegant way to do this would be to weigh the car.
Yeah.
We know what a Tesla Model S 85 should weigh.
Yeah.
And if 1,200 pounds is absent, it's going to show up pretty quick.
They could shove some rocks in there or something, though. You never know until you open it, right?
Jesse, you've got a criminal mind. I respect that. Yeah, that's true. You could fill that with sand or something. Now, do you think that the thieves are that smart and that crafty and it's worth it to them, you know? Maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Hard to tell. It's, you know, the thieves are not going to think about that until you start weighing cars. Once you start weighing cars, now you're getting bags of sand put in there, or rocks or whatever dirt is nearby.
TikTok Van Goatwagon says, I learned about resistance from Pete's TikToks. Yeah, we do a lot of those. I sometimes look at myself and I say, did I really say that? You know, the other day, and this video is already out there. I was over there with one of the social media guys, and we do videos almost every day. And I'm over there, I thought I'm going to have some fun with this. So they're using what looked like a blow dryer. It's actually a heat gun, fanning some fiber optic cables. So I go off on a tangent and I say, you know, what he's doing here is using a hair dryer because fiber optic strands are the thickness of human hair and we're trying to groom the fibers. And I didn't really think you would post it, but it's out there. It's gaining traction and people like it.
Oh, that is incredible. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah.
Well, Pete, it just goes to show you that to the layman, you can say anything,
It
and
sounds plausible.
it's gonna pass.
Yeah.
You know,
I had no idea when you turned and looked at me and you were like, "Yeah, I just made all that up," and I was like, I was like, "You could have fooled me, Pete."
Oh, that's hilarious. You know that I know we're going on down a rabbit hole a little bit, but we had an article that hit the press on October 12th that was almost the same type of thing. This one's from Kristen Brown from the U.S. Sun. And she reported about a Tesla owner who filmed his EV that appeared to die a few feet away from the charging station. He then proceeded to open up the glove compartment and demonstrate that his alternate battery pack, his emergency battery pack, was going to get him the extra 10 feet. That emergency battery pack was 4 AA batteries.
Right.
Now, she actually referenced our own Gruber Motors short, YouTube short, as her source material. And at least she did make reference to the fact that this was an elaborate joke.
Mm-hmm.
But then she proceeded to talk about both several of the comments, because this was a highly commented video that we have online, and went into some length about Tesla Model S's and the amount of voltage and amperage that the battery produces, and would it be reasonable to have 4 AA's actually power a car of this size. And they ended the article saying, the U.S. Sun has reached out to Tesla for further comment. Oh, and we just, I really, really got a kick out of that article because I was there that day.
Yeah.
I remember Richard and Max and I think Jesse was there, but I know Richard and Max were there. And they were filming the short. It happened to be at a that supercharger that's closest to our facility here. And I was just coming back from lunch and saw them and said hi. And my car is the one that's pictured in the short. And it's hilarious. It seems like they took our article so seriously.
Yeah, I can just picture what Tesla is going to say when they are contacted. Will 4AA batteries actually give you another 10 feet of drive time?
Oh, of course. My favorite comment, which was listed in the Sun article, came from a user who said, "I installed a wind-up alarm clock in my Tesla. I just wind the thing up and I get an additional 30 feet. And it's all mechanical power. One time I went 80 miles, but my hands were killing me from winding so much. It took me 4 months."
Wonderful. Yeah, I'll bet those comments are rich in material for us as well.
Oh, by all means.
So YouTube, Ramon Hertz says, certified EV inspection techs sound like a business opportunity to me. The question is, who would certify them to work on which EVs? Good point.
Well, that's a good point. We've had people asking us before, Pete, saying, who did you go to get your expert opinions before you started your business? And our answer is, we didn't go to anybody.
Yeah, there was no one.
There were no experts that existed when we started our business. We're the experts.
Right. YouTube, GT53R, will you guys do a detailing video of your pristine roadsters? Thanks for your content. Keep it up. If you haven't been to our YouTube site, we've got an enormous amount of content out there, and it's nothing but roadsters. Our service center is 90% roadsters on any given day. And Gilbert, who's our detailer, does an excellent job of continuously walking through the shop, cleaning those cars and making them gleam and shine. So that's probably one of the best places is the YouTube videos. The other one I would recommend to you, if you really like roadsters and you like seeing them in spectacular settings with high quality photography, on our website, there is a gallery tab at the top. And there are dozens of various roadsters that we've received here that have been taken on test drives into exotic locations here in Arizona. And I think that any of you that like roadsters would enjoy that as well. Nil says, here there have been articles recently about EV regret, and he's talking about in Denmark. Very high repair bills for trivial things. Practical range at about half of the claimed spec and charger problems, plus higher interest rates.
We are seeing some of that here sometimes, Niels. Well, for example, I saw an article not too long ago about a Rivian. Got into a fender bender. Had a dent in the back corner of his bumper, I think on the driver's side, and was quoted $41,000 for repairs.
Yeah.
Because it was, they said, well, it's a unibody and the whole bed. There was a good ending to that particular story, though. I saw a follow-up. There is a place in the southeast, I think it's Florida. The people sent the Rivian to this place. The guy was able to do a paintless dent repair, which means basically he pulled out the dent and didn't have to repaint or anything. Cost about $2,500. And you can't tell that there was ever a problem. And the guy it has made the press. The guy that owns the shop says, since I did this and it started to make the press, I have been inundated with requests because people are throwing money or throwing costs at what they don't know.
Yeah. I have a healthy respect for those dentless repair guys because it's easy if you've got some collision damage to throw some Bondo on there and then sand it down and throw some paint on it and it looks new again. But
right.
Those dentless guys have to work with every crease, nook, and cranny and from behind. It's like the hail repair guys.
Yes.
And it's a definite skill.
It really is. That's even as simple as when we used to take some of our Model S battery covers off, we didn't have the techniques that we have now, and we used to peel them open like a sardine can, and they would end up all bent and dented. I remember the guy that we had that, man, he could make them pristine, and what a skill it was.
Yeah, he was doing body work. This is reminiscent too of Tesla Roadster VIN number 500, which was a one of color, copper lotus color. It was the last of the 1.5 Roadsters, highly collectible. And a guy was driving down the freeway in California, and a pipe fell off of a landscaper's trailer, bounced around a little bit, and it punctured the driver's side floor pan. Put a hole in there about the size of a softball.
Right.
That car was taken to a Tesla service center. They said, you're going to need a new frame. The insurance company immediately choked and said, well, we're totaling this car. The owner at the time had the foresight to buy it back. He took it down to a sheet metal shop, and they pop riveted a aluminum plate on there, pounded it down, and it was just fine. But the point here being is, we're in a disruptive technology right now, and it's difficult for the appraisers to get up to speed, the insurance adjusters, regarding electric vehicles. And there are going to be some mistakes made like this, higher costs, ridiculous appraisals on what it's going to cost to repair the car until it matures and the skills become more prevalent.
Well, it's almost like having EV experts.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the EV expert? Well, really, there aren't hardly any EV experts out there. So yeah, it's I like to call it a nascent or an infant aged market, and it'll grow over time.
Now, here's a good question from LinkedIn. LinkedIn user says, as a professional voiceover actor and lifelong car guy, at what point will Tesla advertise in mainstream advertising for broadcast on TV, radio, and all digital platforms? I'd like to be in the brand voice for a company like Tesla. How do I become heard seriously by Tesla? Well, this probably gets back to Elon's distaste for convention.
Yeah.
And it's similar to our guerrilla marketing techniques, the trade shows and the magazine ads and the direct mail and all that nonsense that used to prevail decades ago when you had a business.
Right.
I don't think you're ever going to convert Elon from the type of, conventional or too conventional thinking, because he likes to think outside the box. He likes to take the not the beaten path. And good luck to you with that. I would not even know where to begin to have you reach out, because Tesla really doesn't have a PR department. And
I have an idea for him.
Sure.
So if you wanted to stick out, what you could do is you could make your own commercials using the footage that Tesla has already put out there, and just throw those out on YouTube, and then just do it over and over and over and over again and post every single one. Now, if they're, done well enough and gain enough traction, it will inevitably end its way on potentially Elon's desk. And then that's my personal opinion on what your best shot would be with that.
Thanks, Richard. Worth a try. Yeah.
Yeah, it's as good a suggestion as any. Elon Musk falls into a category of CEOs of companies like a Lee Iacocca. The brand becomes the leader. The leader becomes the brand. And I'm not sure in my lifetime if I've ever seen a brand that is more integrated with its CEO and one of founding members than Elon Musk with Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, you're a professional voiceover actor. You want to become a voice for Tesla. You're going to be replacing the CEO.
Interesting.
Elon Musk is the voice of Tesla. Elon Musk is the one who advertises. Every time he puts a post out on X, every time he does something on Facebook, every time something goes out on YouTube, it's always all Elon all the time. But Elon is synonymous with Tesla. And so he's advertising his own company all the time, just by nature of who he is and the platforms that he's on.
Yeah. We did a video years ago where my question was, we all know that who the CEO of Tesla is, but can you name the CEOs of some of these other companies, VW, BMW, some of the Japanese companies? You'd be hard pressed to do that.
Right.
Good point. So TikTok, Van Goatwagon says, let it be, Pete. I'm not sure what he's referring to, but did I go on a rant or something and missed it?
It's a very old question. You guys were talking about how you don't understand social media, so you just let it be.
Oh, okay. All right. Good
Yeah,
point.
we're going slow. I think we need to pick up the pace on the questions a little bit because they're coming
Yeah.
in fast today. By the way, love the questions. That's what makes our time go fast. And this podcast is about you guys, so keep them coming.
TikTok, Hugo, awesome. Thanks for the explanation. YouTube, Richard Flentke says crime doesn't pay income taxes.
Yeah,
Ooh,
well, yeah, crime doesn't pay income taxes. Yes.
TikTok, Michael McDonald 565. Thoughts on Mercedes EQS SUV, please. And he sent us a rose and a heart emoji. You have any inputs?
I've seen a few of the Mercedes EQS SUVs out there, and they're beautiful vehicles. They seem to be well designed. I think Mercedes, from their very early partnership with Tesla, took a lot of their learning and put that into this particular SUV.
Mhm.
So I have high hopes for it. Mercedes is a well-known brand as well, known for making good quality product.
High quality, yes, absolutely. LinkedIn user says, can I tour your shop? Absolutely. We invite people. We do 1 tour a day on average. For those of you that want to see it virtually, go to our YouTube channel. And what the first video that pops up will be a mini drone flying through all of the Tesla Roadsters. YouTube Highlander says, slightly off topic, how's all the new construction going for your new storage facility? Well, the city of Phoenix, I think any city probably has this issue. There are endless delays. The complaints that we get from contractors, for example, the sprinkler guys, they trenched across the street. They put 6-inch inside diameter pipe, which looks more like 8 or 10-inch, big, gigantic pipe, across the street. And it's just a constant series of redos because they have a couple of inspectors and they're not communicating with each other, and they give them different requirements when they come out. I think currently it's finally solved. They actually ended up having to take this 8-inch pipe out of the block wall again and open it up to show the inspector something different, apparently. But I'm very familiar with that because years ago when we redid Building C here, we pulled permits as well, and it delayed our project. It was twice as long to get it done and about 2 to 3 times as expensive as a result.
Yeah, it's but overall, I think it's going well. The roof is the trusses and roof and stuff are officially on the building. We reached that milestone just this last week. The foamers are going to be working on the top of the roof starting within the
Monday.
next week or so. Okay, on Monday. We're pretty excited. It's going really well.
And from here, it will go more rapidly because we've got a lot of the permitting processes out of the way, other than electrical.
Yes.
That's going to be the next big one. But it's going extremely well. They're going to grind the floor next week as well. And then we're getting an epoxy layer on that floor. Instead of leaving block walls on the storage section of the building, there's an office section with a lab and like a monitoring control room. The entire building is going to be skirted with drywall on the inside, of course, painted and finished. So that's going to look a bit different. We have 6 skylights in the building. We love that natural light coming in and bathing everything with the sunlight. We have a glass warehouse door, not just steel. And we're looking at this to be a first-class facility consistent with the type of storage that's going to be in there, which is collectible, exotic Tesla Roadsters.
Yes, definitely. YouTube, PYGKLB says, James Stevenson has thoroughly debunked the Tesla losing market share notion. I've seen some articles talking about Tesla losing market share, and what I'm seeing, though, is that they limit it. They say, well, Tesla at the beginning of 2023 had 60% of the EV market share, and now they only have 50% because people are catching up to them. And I'm like, really?
We've got a whole world to convert here yet.
Really?
There's plenty of room for everybody.
The electric vehicle has 8% of the automobile market share.
Right.
And it's okay if that 8%, which was 6% at the beginning of the year, that means the market itself has grown 25%. Who cares at this point if Tesla has 50% of the EV market share? In fact, I can guarantee you Tesla is no longer looking at the EV market. They are looking at the overall automobile market and what kind of market share they're going to capture with that.
Good point. That was a rant clip, by the way, in case you guys didn't catch that. Okay, got it. Here's one. Instagram. Hamza.manai12. He says, Free Palestine.
You know, we have an article that's about that as well.
We do. We should probably get to that. If you guys want to throw up a picture, and it is called Hamas Attack. And we'll get the rest of the story here. There was apparently a Tesla Model 3 that was involved in this attack by Hamas, and which ended up the driver. And let me just read you this story, then it'll make a lot more sense. The owner of the Tesla Model 3 Performance was in Mefalsim, Israel, and he escaped the attack from the Hamas fighters who, at this point, were indiscriminately killing people that were attempting to flee. So it goes minutes after the Hamas forces invaded the Otaf settlement from the nearby Gaza Strip. This gentleman with the Model 3 was in a kibbutz called Metalsim, and he jumped into his Tesla. He noticed that there was gunfire erupting, people were being killed, and he started driving to the assembly point when a pickup truck loaded with Hamas combatants cut him off and opened fire. What happens next, they say, sounds like a scene from an action movie. Although he suffered a series of head and hand injuries that required surgery, he was thankful that he was in his Tesla Model 3 at the time of the attack. He said the fighters started shooting at the Tesla with their Kalashnikov rifles and a machine gun at close range, aiming specifically for the front and rear of the EV. He surmised that they did not realize that it was an electric vehicle, so they attempted to shoot the engine or hit the engine in the front and the gas tank or fuel tank in the back, which it also doesn't have, and eventually ended up shooting his tires. Now, they ended up putting 100 bullets in this car. It is amazing that he survived any of this, because if you look at the pictures there are some definite bullet holes through the side window where he was sitting. He says even though the Tesla's tires were flattened, he managed to keep the car on the road, and he did realize he was seriously wounded, so he pushed the accelerator to reach the hospital, at one point reaching speeds of up to 112 miles an hour. Now, mind you, the tires have been shot out. One of them was so bad, and you'll see it in the second image there was no rubber left.
Right.
He was on an aluminum wheel at this point in time, and being able to keep a car at 100 miles an hour on the road with this lack of traction was just a miracle. Well, he was able to get away because he was able to outrun the vehicles that they were driving, which he thought was a diesel truck, a Toyota Hilux or an Isuzu D-Max.
Mm-hmm.
100 bullets again. It also helped his wife track him and find his whereabouts, because the Tesla app was telling her where the car was. So he said that his Tesla still drives if you press the accelerator. Now, that I would not have expected. That's almost like a mic drop right there, right?
Oh, my gosh, yes.
And he says, but he realizes it may be time to think about replacing his car.
Well, yeah, probably is. You know, my thoughts and prayers are with both the people from Palestine and the people from Israel. This has been a tragedy on both sides. And the amazing thing here is that he was able to drive away and get away like this. At some point in the future, do you think that the terrorist organizations like this are going to figure out that some of these cars are electric and that they're going to start aiming for the battery itself underneath the car?
Oh, undoubtedly, yes.
And then what happens at that point?
Yeah. And, will we see more examples of Teslas being used to attempt to escape this kind of carnage? You have to admit that this is unprecedented, although we've been doing crazy stuff like this on this planet ever since man, began to walk upright. But the original comment was, free Palestine, and what do we think? We do an AI podcast every Sunday. And one of the things that I have pointed out a number of times is that personally, I welcome AI taking over this planet because we need something smarter than us, something less volatile, less emotional, and something that does not subscribe to crazy notions like, I have a different religion, so therefore I'm justified in killing you, or political beliefs, or land grabs, or taking other people's stuff. I think that we can attain a utopian society with something smarter, more powerful than us, regulating us, because we're certainly not able to do it ourselves. We've had thousands of years to learn how to coexist and live in peace, and here we are, this late in the game, still doing the same types of things.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's my personal views. Would love to hear from anybody that has a different view or something that might, modify my view. But at this point, I'm saying embrace AI. It may be our saving grace. It may be what finally puts this planet back on track.
It just may. YouTube, Ramon Hurt. What do you guys think of electric motorcycles? Have any of you rode one?
Richard, you're a motorcycle guy.
I have not ridden an electric bike. I do think the tactile aspect to riding a motorcycle, with shifting and the vibration, all of that, that is going to be a piece that is, once it's gone, that's going to be, a day of mourning.
Yeah.
For everybody. I haven't ridden an electric bike yet. I assume it's going to be similar to, an EV car, where the torque is just insane. You go super fast, or you go super quick, not crazy top high speeds. I mean, I've seen some of the zero motorcycles. I think the Damon, it might stand out from the pack on this, but I mean, top speeds are like 112, 120, so that's also a piece that some insane people are gonna miss. But maybe we can get our hands on a zero bike and do a review. I'm happy to do that.
My thoughts on the electric motorcycle. I've ridden a motorcycle in my younger years. Had driven a motorcycle, and I kind of compare a motorcycle to an ICE vehicle in the same way that you compare an ICE vehicle to an EV. A good fast motorcycle is going to have that really fast acceleration. One of the things about motorcycles today is they're all rear-wheel drive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you have in-wheel electric motors, you could dump maybe 100 to 150 horsepower into each of the two wheels of that motorcycle, and then have a battery pack sitting between your legs, basically. Holy cow, that would be fast.
Well, I don't know if this is common knowledge, but I rode a Ninja 600 to work every day for 7 years. And so I'm quite used to the sports bike, experience. Currently, I ride an electric scooter between buildings. It's a two-wheeler as well. And you're definitely going to have some sensory deprivation by going electric on something like this. And I agree with Richard. Part of the fun is, flipping through the gears and listening to the RPMs as to when your optimum shift times are. Popping wheelies, for example, and hearing the noise along with that. But again, we have to transition. We have to learn new skills. We have to, in order to heal this planet, we've got to get rid of the fossil fuel burners. So we need to learn to accommodate these new technologies.
We definitely do. Mansin5 has a good question for us on YouTube. It says, do you have tips for someone starting out a business for troubleshooting and repairing Tesla cars? When you start with 0 customers, how do you get to know people of your new business? Thanks.
Oh, well, our first customer in the Gruber Motor Company was me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my 2011 Lightning Green Roadster, and we ended up doing some reverse engineering on that car. There are no manuals. There were no books available. There were no schools we could have gone to. It was all OJT, on-the-job training. One of the ways that you might be able to break into this is by starting with some of the non-EV type repairs. Low-tech auto, take your pick, suspension, tires, paint, body, that type of thing. And then attract a EV clientele, and then start with something simple. I wouldn't break into rebuilding battery packs right off the bat.
Right.
But, some of these simple electronics repairs, like inside a Tesla Roadster, for example, the lights don't come on. I'm just kind of grasping for things here that I could think about.
Think about door handles and windows.
Perfect.
On
There
a
you
Model
go.
S.
There you go.
That if you were to start a business and get good at everything to do with the door handles that are always failing, it seems like on the Model S, or with the windows, the
window regulators,
the window
yes.
regulators that seem to all that's a common problem. Find another 2 or 3 common problems, and then just share to the world what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Social media is amazing.
It is.
In its ability to share with the world, and by simply going out and sharing what you're doing, you're advertising yourself. You're advertising and you don't even necessarily have to pay for advertising in that sense.
And one other bit of advice, you might consider getting a job with one of these EV manufacturers. They're always looking for people. And that would really accelerate your learning. It would expose you to a wide variety of different repairs and expertise that you could learn from observing how they repair those vehicles, and then eventually migrate into your own shop.
Definitely.
Ramon Hurt says, Happy Taco Tuesday. Be sure to go to Filiberto's or one of the many other Bertos. Yeah, we found out that those are all brothers, didn't we, here locally?
Yeah, we did this last time. That's good point. Ray Johnson on YouTube says, Mark, picked up a Nike sponsorship?
Oh, there you go. LOL. Okay.
No, I did not, but I like my Nike shirt. It's very comfortable.
Instagram, Mohammed Shab 7317 greets us. Hello, welcome.
Good morning.
YouTube Highlander, the famous phrase, yes, kindness is still free. Thank you.
Yes.
YouTube, Ramon Hurt, Mark wants a Tron cycle.
Oh, I'd love a Tron cycle. And Niels has a really good point for me. As you know, Niels has some of the best comments.
Always.
Always.
Yes.
He says, Mark, on a high-powered motorcycle, there's very little load on the front wheel. Steering a motor isn't good either. And that's true. I hadn't thought of that. Dumping a motor onto the front wheel of a motorcycle may not be all that you'd want, because the centrifugal forces on the wheels are part of what helps to keep the motorcycle stable and moving forward.
Like a gyroscope.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. And that gyroscopic effect with a motor on the front wheel might cause a whole lot more problems than it would solve.
Yeah.
I think it would be difficult to lean the bike, right? Because it's going to be trying to keep it centered or upright,
Yeah.
I agree,
good
Richard.
point.
which might make crashing more difficult too. So pros and cons.
Yeah. My scooter, by the way, is a in-wheel motor, the front motor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we've got another news item here, and this one, if we can bring up a picture, guys, it's the where did it go here? Yeah, Airless tires. There we go. So the electric Mini Cooper that they had at the Munich Auto Show this past September had airless tires, and they say this may have big implications for you. The next few years, Michelin, a French manufacturer, is hoping these tires will be on your car. Now, if you look, you can see right through that tire there. See the grass?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on the lower portion. So you're not going to get a flat. It's already flat, but it's being propped up. So they say that that this airless tire technology has been in the works with Michelin for over a decade. And they kind of look like toy car wheels. And it drew quite a few stares at the auto show, but the passengers seem pleased with the new technology. Now, one of our headlines is, tire tech hasn't changed in a century. Here we're finally starting to adopt some of these new rapid changes that are occurring in transportation to tires. So they say, why does it matter? Well, first of all, the company considers a tire, and they're called UPTIS, UPTIS, which stands for Unique Puncture-Proof Tire System. They consider these an important step on the road to sustainability. And as the name suggests, airless tires don't puncture. So they should last longer, which means less tires will need to be produced, helping limit waste. They also claim that millions of tires end up in landfills because of early puncture damage. How often have you been, or have you gotten a flat tire and you go to Discount Tire, wherever, get your tire fixed, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'd say, ooh, we can't fix this one. This one is too close to the sidewall.
Yes.
It's going to be unsafe. That brand new tire or that, limited use tire is going to have to be replaced. And I think Cass has something she wants to chime
I
in with.
just did that this year. I had gotten new tires in like July. 3 months later, I had to get a brand new set of tires because they couldn't fix it. I just had to get new ones.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's terrible.
Always get the warranty.
Yep. So as they say here, millions fill up landfills because of early puncture damage, and many have joined these landfills because they're simply too old and worn out. They say disposed tires can become a fire hazard. Have you guys ever seen a fire where you've got this massive plume of black, dark smoke, even 20 miles away? That's a tire fire.
Yeah.
So, and of course, now we are releasing gases, heavy metals, and oil into the environment, even more than we are by driving around. They say that the U.S. alone produced over 260 million scrap tires in 1 year alone in 2019. So their claim is that these airless tires should last longer and they will limit waste. They say that the manufacturers claim that around 18% of tires are scrapped every year due to damage, where they hope that these Uptis tires will not or will be immune to. They can also be made now from recycled plastic waste. Right now they contain some recycled waste, but Michelin plans to eventually make them entirely from recycled materials, according to interesting engineering.
I think this is a fascinating development, and I hope it's where the industry goes. Now, one of the things that I noticed as we were reading through the article is that these tires are mated to the wheels.
Exactly.
And so that's one thing that I kind of scratch my head a little bit. So now we're not only talking about potentially changing or revolutionizing the tire industry, we're also talking about revolutionizing the wheel industry, unless these tires can get to where they can be mated or compatible with pneumatic wheels. I don't know if that could happen though. I think I think that would be an issue. So I'm a little concerned about the cost, because a good set of wheels may be several $100s, and then a good set of tires several $100s more. But the concept I love. I think it's a great concept. I remember driving in a Tesla Model S. A lot of the Model S's with air suspension have these camber issues, where the tires, as you're going down the road, your Model S will lower in order to make itself more efficient, basically.
Yeah, more aerodynamic.
Yeah, more aerodynamic. But that lowering of those air shocks tends to make the tires camber out a little bit, and so the insides of your tires tend to go. And once that tire is gone, of course they're pneumatic. They're air tires, and it happens all of a sudden. So this concept, I could see the ability to adjust for a car that cambers like that as well. All kinds of cool things could happen with these tires.
Well, yes, you're right. The wheel is part of the tire. They say Uptis combines an aluminum wheel with a special tire around it. It is made with plastic matrix laced with and reinforced by fiberglass. The outer tire is designed to be flexible while strong enough to support the car. Now, the camber issue, if this is able to overcome that, then that in and of itself would be yet another savings, because how often have you had to replace your tires, despite the fact that 90% of the tread is still solid, but it's that camber wear that has now rendered your tire as unsafe or unusable.
Oh, exactly.
This is going to make police car chases a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be no use for spike strips at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
No more spike strips. We'll see a lot. I think we're going to see an 80 to 90% uptick in pit maneuvers.
Tell us more about the pit
Yeah.
maneuvers.
Oh, yes. So the pit maneuver is when the cop, gets up next to the car and then swipes the tail end
Oh, okay.
and spins them out.
Okay.
Yes, yes. And I think about, okay, my wife driving down the freeway, a landscaper or some sort of tradesman ahead of her in a vehicle. The vehicle is loaded down. This happened about 3 months ago, and he has a tire blowout.
Mhm.
Well, he was probably not running on very good quality tires because he starts to swerve and weave because he's lost control. His front tire is just blown out. And as a result of the extra stress put on the tires of him swerving and weaving, he has a second blowout.
Mhm.
And then he loses a fair amount of his load off of the metal rack from his pickup.
Mhm.
And these were pipes.
Okay.
Fortunately, all that my wife ended up with is a couple of nicks near the bottom of her car from these pipes bouncing along the freeway as she's coming up behind him.
Wow.
It could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
Well, with airless tires, you'll never have a blowout.
Yeah, it's true. The end of blowouts.
It'll
yeah.
be impossible to have a blowout. How many accidents, how many deaths have there been due to tire blowouts and things like that?
Well, looks like Doug Planton is joining us. Welcome, Doug.
Hey, good
from
morning, Doug.
YouTube. He says, good morning, GMS. And then Instagram, 98.secret says, hi, guys.
Good
YouTube,
morning.
Yeah, Highlander says, to get to know customers, go to superchargers on any EV charger. Our social media team does a pretty good job of that when they go to the superchargers. They'll actually interview people and poll them.
Yeah, and that's actually a great idea for that gentleman that wants to start an EV business. Just go hang out at a supercharger for a while. If he wants to get into a Tesla business, go find the largest Tesla supercharger in the community, in the area, and hang out there for a Saturday. And just have information, talk to people, begin to build relationships. You'll get business.
But don't do what we did and caught in time, which is make stickers promoting our business and put those on superchargers. We do not own those superchargers.
Right.
And we quickly took those down. It was a brilliant idea because people are captive at the supercharger, don't have much to do. And but again, it's a violation.
Yeah, it's better to build the relationships.
So Foster Henderson is back with us. He says, do you know how many Tesla S tires I had to get plugged? ? Yes.
Yeah.
I have the staggered wheels and I'm in. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, Jiminy Stack has joined us today. Thanks for joining us, Jiminy. He says, yes, it's time for airless tires on cars. I've had them on my bicycles for years. Most cars don't even have a spare anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
Airless is overdue. From Jiminy Stack, Chandler, Arizona. Oh boy, Jiminy, you are so right. And I've seen the airless tires on bicycles, and they're no difference between an airless tire and a standard tire.
Performance-wise, you mean cushion and all that?
Yeah, no difference whatsoever.
Fascinating. YouTube, Paul says, thanks for the great information on how I can get into the EV business. Your suggestions are spot on. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We got one thing to show you real quick that Richard's going to bring up.
Okay.
And the audience can see this too, so watch this.
Oh, got a video.
Oh, I've seen this video before.
Oh, man. You got to be kidding me.
The tire pops off this thing, and the whole entire car next to it just goes flying.
Yeah. It must have caught it just right. Yeah, it did. It did. It launched it.
Yeah.
And then
As
the
it was
tire
spinning.
Tire comes back for round 2 as well.
Oh, yeah. It's not giving up, is it?
No. That poor little Kia. It looks like maybe a Kia Soul. Yeah, that's a Kia Soul. Wow. Yeah, I remember seeing that a few years back, and that.
So another good example of why tire reform is important in new technologies. Okay, so can we post the picture here, guys? It is the Cybertruck next to a DeLorean, the first one. Front scaled is what this one's called. And I think you had information where this might have been located.
Yeah, this is in all likelihood located in Southern California in Orange County. Let's pull up the picture and
I'm so sorry. What was the name of the picture, Pete?
It is called Cybertruck and DeLorean Front Scaled.
Okay, give me 1 second.
While they're doing that, I do want to grab a quick comment here from Highlander. He says, Michelin's best tire ever built. That's why Craigslist used to use them, because your suspensions are so bad, and it covered the suspension issues.
Thank you.
So thanks. I love this particular picture. If you guys remember, on Thursday, we had a picture of a Model Y next to a Cybertruck. Now, I took some time to look at that picture, and that logo, that RC logo, is the same logo that you see here. So I think this is the same Cybertruck.
It could be, yeah. I don't think there are that many out in the wild yet. Otherwise, there would be a lot of pictures circulating.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the technology or the build on these two vehicles apparently is identical. They're both stainless steel.
Right. Except that the DMC is, what, a 1984, correct? Is that when
think so.
DeLorean made their vehicles? I think that's what it was.
Seeing a few of these at the car shows, I would ask the owners, what do you do to this? Do you wax it? Do you, do you polish it? Do you clear coat it? So, no, we just take a Brillo pad and make sure that you always go the same direction.
Just
That's
go
what
to
gives it the finish.
the direction of the finish.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if you can do the same thing with the Cybertruck, if they have that brushed finish like that.
That's a good point. All of the DeLorean owners will know exactly how to take care of their Cybertrucks, won't
That's
they?
exactly right.
There's another shot from the back, by the way, Richard. It's the rear scaled, and this will give you some sense of proportion, how big this Cybertruck is, at least compared to the DeLorean. And the DeLorean, by the way, also has gull wing doors, which is one of the other images, but which the Cybertruck does not. There we go.
Now, the Texas plate on that Cybertruck was when I was looking at the pictures earlier this morning. That to me was the giveaway, because I believe that's the same Texas license plate that we saw on Thursday.
Mhm.
I've stood next to a DeLorean. It sounds like you have as well. The DeLorean is about probably a 3.5 to 4 foot tall vehicle. Your standard 2-door coupe size. I think of a Nissan 380Z or something like that. It's similar to that for a DeLorean. That tells me that Cybertruck may be the size of a Toyota Tacoma, or some other of the mid-size pickup trucks like that, bigger than the Ford Maverick, possibly as big as the Ford Ranger or Chevy Colorado, or possibly even a little bigger. So
Well,
definitely in that truck size.
Well, the first thing we're going to do when we get a Cybertruck is what we did with that Ford F450, 850. It was huge. That big orange Ford that we did.
Yes.
We're going to do a Tesla Roadster poll and show that the Teslas are actually more powerful than the Cybertruck. That video, by the way, got a lot of views.
Sure.
170,000, I think, or something like that. All right. I want to also thank our audience and our contributors for the tips that they give us every week and the industry-related news. You are really the people that end up creating some of the content for these podcasts, and we do appreciate it. And of course, all of the comments, the feedback, and I think there's a silent majority out there too, because at the end of a show, when we look at the number of people that have been watching and viewing, it's infinitely larger than the people commenting. So don't be shy. Give us where you're from, tell us your name, questions, comments. And you don't have to agree with everything we're saying either.
No, I actually think some of the most interesting shows we have had are when somebody comes up in the comments with a completely contrarian comment to what the flow of information has been. We love those. The controversy, the contrarian comments, we respect them even if we don't agree with them, and it really makes for an interesting show. Like you, Pete, I thank you guys so much. When we saw the Lucid article, it came out today after we were sitting here in the studio prepping for the show, and it was you guys coming to us with that information that helps us out.
Totally. So it looks like we're coming to the end of at least the content that I have. Do you have anything else, Mark, that we'd like to share?
Let me take one quick look. And yeah, Jesse.
You still have questions to go through, right?
Not according to the screen.
Here we go.
There is one other article that I wanted to talk about, one other thing, and then let's get to some questions first, though.
Sure. Okay.
Um,
We've already gone through
we've gone through those. I've gone through Highlanders. That's where we need to start is with Niels. On YouTube, he says, air tires can be profitably recycled as road and building material. For Airless, what about vertical stiffness versus horizontal, weight, cost, rolling heat, and noise? Wouldn't it fill up with dust or slush?
You know, that's a good point. How do you drive in snow if if you get ice between the cavities on your airless tire?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and I would think it's less about the snow that gets around the tire and more about what's going to happen to your tire's performance if that snow gets impacted inside the tire and then you park.
Nils, I suspect that this is what keeps the Michelin engineers up at night, the very questions that you asked. You know, I don't think this is an easy technology like you're beginning to allude to.
Yeah. So PYGKLB says, I had a tire that picked up a second puncture too close to the first one's patch. So I had to buy 4 tires.
Wow. Trucker Alistair is with us. Welcome. He said, I saw YouTube that the new Roadster is out this year. Is that correct? We have not heard.
I have not heard that. And the latest that I've heard, Trucker, glad to see you here, by the way, is that Elon had said, and this is around the beginning of this year, they do have an engineering team actively working on the Roadster. They would have more information about the Roadster's development by the end of 2024, but he was not making any promises.
No commitments. Yeah.
So I don't think the new Roadster is going to be out this year.
You know, they have priorities. They have a lot to release right now. That Cybertruck, the pent-up demand for that is powerful. And I think if there are any more delays there, Tesla could be in trouble.
Yeah, I think they're...
It looks like Foster's back. He says, Pete, the key fobs for the Roadster, he bought them at the Tyco store. He bought 2 of them. They programmed them for me. You know, that is good advice, Foster. We tend to forget that just because one Tesla service center says, no, we don't have those parts anymore. If you go to another one, especially the ones that have some buyback Roadsters sitting out and back,
oh, sure,
you would be amazed what they may be able to come up with for you. We had a customer just last month. He's been looking for a front grille for his validation prototype Roadster for some time. We were even thinking about making him one as a recreation. However, that affects the collectability of these rare VPs. He eventually ended up going to the Long Beach Service Center. They took him out and back to the buyback Roadsters, and they say, "Which one do you want?" It was kind of like a pick and part. Right. So yes, don't forget the Tesla Roadster service centers. And if you get a no at one, try another one until you find what you need.
And if you want a list of what those Tesla Roadster service centers are located at, you can check our Facebook site for that. I don't think we have that on our website yet, correct, Pete?
We don't have it on the website, but yes, it's on the Tesla Roadster Owners Group on Facebook. And those are the Tesla Roadster service centers that are willing to take Roadsters in for repair. Those are generally also the ones that have some buyback Roadsters.
Right. Trucker Alistair on YouTube says, DeLorean, what a timeless machine. Yeah. Just have to love it and make it electric. Then you're really in the future.
That was a play on words, wasn't it? What a timeless machine.
Oh, yes.
Ramon Hurd says, there are pictures of the Cybertruck next to a Rivian on Tesla Roddy.
I actually saw that in the Rivian R1T and Cybertruck are pretty similar in size. Okay. And these, unlike some that we've seen in the past, these are not pictures of the Rivian closer and the Cybertruck out further, and they are truly side by side.
Cool. Facebook Jiminy. By the way, Jiminy is one of the EV godfathers here in the state of Arizona. I like to point that out once in a while because he has done an enormous amount to promote and encourage EV adoption, and we're all grateful. He says Airless tires will have covers on the sides. The one now that they're testing is just for show. That's interesting. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. And Jiminy, I think he's right. I think it's going to be a requirement because of what Niels was talking about.
Mhm.
The rain, the mud, the snow, all of the elements that
yeah.
could get into and fill up that tire. And it's it's not just that it compromises the weight of the tire, it throws the tire out of balance
Yeah.
and makes it almost impossible to drive on.
And the temptation for kids to put twigs inside the holes before you start your car and drive off,
Oh yeah, twigs, rocks, who knows? Niels then also says, he says, Airless might begin to sag over time, and then one cannot just pump it up. And then the mileage goes. On the plus side, I think they are making them with recyclable plastics.
Mm-hmm.
So Niels, you are correct about the recyclable plastics, and we don't know about the sag. That's a good question. So here's the one of the article that I had information on. I thought people might find it kind of interesting. This one comes from Fred Lambert at Electric. Tesla has finally released its API documentation to support third-party apps in the car. So this documentation is going to help people who want to develop applications for Teslas and make it so that they're able to do so. It will make the Tesla Center console behave kind of a little more like either an Android for Android Auto or like Apple CarPlay, where you'll have the ability to put these third-party applications into the car. They're not made by Tesla, and people can do that. Some people had commented that Elon mentioned in the past, in years past, when asked this type of question, when are you going to open up your Teslas to have third-party apps? He says, maybe when we're around 10 million cars or so. Well, they've passed the 5 million car rate. So Tesla is now at a point where they're starting to open up and develop a place on the Tesla website where you can have a library of apps. Their access is going to be kind of limited because the apps are kind of limited in what kind of information they can talk to the car with. What can you tell the car? What can you get the car to tell you? Obviously, the Tesla app can do all kinds of things, but the third-party apps are going to be more limited.
Very cool. Well, it looks like we're coming up on an hour and a half. Tomorrow, we're going to have our Tesla Roadster podcast. And two items that will most likely occupy some of that discussion. One is going to be any updates on that Florida stolen Roadster.
Yes.
And for those of you that missed the earlier version, the stolen Roadster has been retrieved. It is on its way back to the Fort Lauderdale Tesla Service Center. And we hope that it's up and running and there isn't any damage on that briefly stolen Roadster. The second update we'll have for you is on the 3 Chinese Roadsters. We're beginning to finalize a lot of the dispositioning of those cars. Today they're finishing up, or at least engaging in the parts dispositioning. And all 3 cars will be posted individually now on our Tesla Roadster matchmaking site. Under our website, if you go to Roadsters for Sale, you'll see all 3 of them now. And so anyway, bidding will start on those cars again soon. So stay tuned, and we'll have more information for you tomorrow on those 3 cars.
Just a couple of comments to close things out for you guys. First, Richard Flenke, when we're talking resistance levels, he says VinFast is now SlimFast. $6.27. VinFast's IPO was $10, by the way. And so they were as high as 91. They seem to have hit a resistance level at that 6 to 625 level. I've seen them there now for about 2 weeks. Ramon Hurt on YouTube asks, is there going to be a Gruber app for a Tesla?
Well, if Elon agrees, we'll certainly propose that.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Being able to do some things, OVMS style things almost, that would be really cool to be able to do. And then finally from Highlander, kindness is always free.
And on that note, we'll close. And again, appreciate our audience, all the inputs. We will see you either tomorrow or Thursday for the continuation of this Gruber Morning Show EV podcast.
Take care.